Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hello, my lovelies. Rita here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Also, just huge thank you just for supporting the podcast, supporting the work that I do. I feel like almost 100 of you are already signed up for Prep for Wave Week. So thank you so much for doing that. Like, it really means the world to be starting off on a really great high as Prep for Wave Week registrations start rolling in. I also wanted to let you know, some of you saw on the thank you page. So when you signed up for Prep for Wave Week, I kind of gave a challenge per se. So I want you to help me spread the word. And for helping me spread the word, there are some bonuses that you can earn for Prep for Wave Week. So the first bonus, and you can see this if you're already signed up for Prep for Wave Week, just go into the pre-event survey module, which thank you everybody who has been filling out that survey. That is really helpful. But there I have included some of these instructions. So if you didn't see it on the thank you page, you can see it there. But once we hit 500 travel advisors signed up, I am going to release an Instagram carousels guide that has best practice type of hooks, structures, and call to actions for carousels. I know I've been talking a lot about kind of reels type of content. So this is something that I've been ideating in my brain as I hone in a little bit more on what I see actually working in social media. So I'm really excited to put that together. Then when we hit 1,000 advisors, there's some marketing SOPs that we've been creating in Marketing Business School over the past couple of years. I've never released those outside of Marketing Business School. So once we hit 1,000 advisors, we are going to release those. And some of the examples, I would say there's anywhere from 5 to 10 SOPs that will be included. And it's things like how to create a marketing campaign and how to put a group trip together, or how to make a group trip stand out from anything else that's kind of selling right now. And then once we hit 1,500 advisors signed up, I am going to create a special Prep for Wave Week GPT that will be your own special AI planning partner to help build your wave season plan step by step. This is something that I have thought about creating. And if you have heard or have talked to anybody that attended client call out, I created a GPT for that workshop and got rave reviews. People just loved using the GPT. So I cannot wait to make this GPT. But the only way it will get released is once we hit 1,500 advisors. So you can become an affiliate for Prep for Wave Week, or you can just share. And if you send me your screenshot, I will send you a big thank you for helping me share Prep for Wave Week to as many advisors as we can. Last week, I did announce a majority of the components, but I have a big announcement today that our last session, the session I had been kind of waiting on for marketing, is going to be by travel advisor Dina Farmer. She is the founder of Spectrum Getaways. She has been on Prep for Wave Week before. She has been killing it, being a podcast guest and also a virtual event guest in the neurodivergent space. So I am a huge proponent for getting on other people's platforms, and to see that she is doing the dang thing and seeing some results from it, I was just so happy to include her this year for Prep for Wave Week. So just so stinking excited. If you haven't already registered, it is early, but don't delay, especially if you want to get some of those bonuses a little bit sooner than later. That's really, I think, all the updates that I have right now for Prep for Wave Week. I also want to let you know, if you haven't, like, I've been mentioning this on my Facebook group and in social media. I do like an annual feedback form for my own business. And this is for you to give me feedback on kind of like what's happening specifically in your travel agency, to see like where I can help you out there. It is totally anonymous, so it's not like I'm going to follow back up. Normally I try and do like some sort of focus group. I just don't think I'm going to have time for that. If I do have time, it's not going to be until later this year. But it would be super duper helpful if you could fill out that form for me. I think it should really only take like 10 to 15 minutes. There's tons of multiple choice, and then there's other questions that I really want to like dig into your brain a little bit as to like what's been going on in your business, what's kind of working, what have you tried but isn't really helping or really isn't really working. So feel free to, I'll make sure that that is one of the first links in the show description. If you could please take some time, this helps me out because I do not want to be putting anything out there that is not going to be helpful for your business. And so to make sure that I put things out there that are going to be helpful for your business is why I kind of I put this feedback form out there to really hear from you and everyone. Now, you probably know that I am a busy lady. Like, I'm recording this on Thursday. I have had like 5 calls today. So on top of that, my brain is a little fried. So I really kind of want to touch on a very important reel from the Legal Paige that came out earlier this week. And I will also make sure that that's linked up so you can kind of see the full reel. I am going to just state some of the biggest things that she kind of mentioned. So this reel is about like, are you using AI legally? So I want to mention like the biggest things that she kind of mentioned in this reel, and then how that kind of affects you and your travel business. This might be a shorter episode just because my bandwidth and my capacity are a little bit fried. But don't worry, because I'm still going to give you lots of practical information when it comes to AI and using AI. And then I'm also going to give you some of the ideas that I have kind of like rolling around in my head about AI. And then, what else was I gonna say? Shoot, I forget what else I was gonna say. It'll probably come back up at some point, during the rest of this episode. So, let's start digging in. So the first thing that the Legal Paige had mentioned is to stop feeding other people's work into AI. I think like this is one of the biggest things that just is happening in general because AI doesn't have those safeguards when it comes to data. Like if you're uploading to something to AI, AI's not saying or requesting for you to like say like I certify that this is like my own original work or that I have permission to use that original work, which is kind of like one of the downfalls with using AI is that it's kind of like a free-for-all. And I feel like some of us may have been doing some of this stuff, but not like knowing that we couldn't do all these things because like AI still is a fairly new world. So I felt like it was really important to mention, especially this one. What I'm really intrigued in is specifically when it comes to you as a travel agency owner is there's a lot of like all of our modern day tools now, all of our CRMs now have some sort of like upload where like you can upload itineraries or documents for your clients. And you can upload those so it's really easy and you don't have to recreate anything and it saves you so much time, which I love that feature. I love that capacity because like anything that can save you time is chef's kiss. I want to make sure that you have access to that. However, do you have the right to upload those things that you're uploading, like those itineraries? And this is going to be an interesting one because even like on the CRM side, like does does the CRM need to be collecting permission from you that you have permission to upload this? And does this mean that you're going to have to ask your suppliers if you're able to run it through your CRM's AI so that you can just auto upload it and it's a much easier process for you? I feel like there's a ton of questions around this, and I might need to start asking just like some of my contacts within the different CRMs just to like get some clarity over this, because the reason why you can't upload it to AI is because you don't have the copyright to do so. So thinking like very old school, like I think about like the textbooks. Every textbook when I was like growing up, at the bottom of the page would say something like, there's copyright on here. You do not have any permission to reproduce this book or anything that's inside of this book without express permission. So I don't know if anybody else kind of like remembers that, because it's still like in books today. Like, and even if I'm like, I create the Plan Your Year workshop book, the workbook every year, and like that has copyright within it too. Like you can't reproduce that unless like I've given you permission to reproduce that. So I feel like this is like the new version of that when it comes to copyright. So if you have not had express permission to upload something, you should not be uploading that. I almost said technically, but I'm like, no, according to what Paige said, legally, you should not be uploading anything that you in fact did not create yourself. So, also, if you didn't know, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. So if you want definitive answers, make sure that you're going to whoever that is for you, whoever is your attorney or your lawyer. But I just wanted to relay this message because I know, one, not many people might be like have seen the Legal Pages reel on this. And I thought it was like really important because it was mentioned in Marcy's Facebook group, and I had replied to this, that I know us as educators, a lot of people are using the materials that we've created and that many of you have purchased, and you're uploading it to AI without our permission or our consent to do so. And you know, full transparency on me, because I have heard people specifically like in the cruise content library who have done that. I was like, go you. You're being more efficient with the resources that I'm making for you. And not knowing like that really shouldn't have been allowed. So like poo-poo on me too, because I'm also getting clarity as we're getting to know this landscape a little bit better here. And this is not me calling anybody out either. We are all just learning. So I know for myself specific, so before even to get to myself specifically, if you have, or if you're thinking like, if you have access to a course or access to notes from a course or anything like that, just know you do not have, or like any sort of digital product that you purchase from anybody, you do not have permission to upload that into AI unless you've asked for permission from the person you purchased that from. So like you have access to access them, but you don't have access to reproduce. And part of reproducing means like uploading it to AI as well. I know for myself, and I think like this is going to just become a little bit more common because of that, and also because AI is such a useful tool. Something that I have personally been thinking about, I mean, you just heard I want to be creating more GPTs. That's something that I'm thinking about. And like for any of the courses and programs that I have, how can I create GPTs that are going to help you maximize the content that is in whatever product, like whether that's a starter kit that I have or the cruise content library or anything else? Like how can I create an AI tool that's going to help you maximize the course or the information or the downloads that you've already purchased from me myself. And I think that this is probably going to become more normal to be included inside of programs like this. Now, I haven't talked to anybody else. This is like me the first time saying something like this. So I haven't talked to like any other educators. I just know like there's a program that I'm currently in by one of the speakers who you're going to hear at Prep for Wave Week, that she created a GPT to help people. So she has like hypnotherapy type of audios, and they cover like all sorts of things, like from sales to overwhelm to feeling worthy and everything in between, kind of like all the things that you need to really rewire your brain. And she created a GPT that houses all of the information. So like when you ask the GPT and say it like, hey, I need a suggestion for an audio and this is how I'm feeling, or this is what's happening, or I need more sales, or I need to get better at marketing, the GPT will then spit you, okay, well, based on what you just told me, these are the audios that you should listen to. Do you want me to create like a listening schedule that would be helpful? Which I think is so neat and so inventive to be able to do. So that's definitely some considerations that I have top of mind. Thinking about you as a travel advisor, like I know I've mentioned like you shouldn't be legally, you should not be uploading somebody's itineraries to your CRM's AI if you don't have express permission to do so. But on the flip coin of that, is your clients should not be uploading your itineraries to their AI tools as well. So this is probably like a larger conversation in terms of, I feel like you also need to be adding to your terms and conditions some like AI clause. And I'm actually having Tom Carpenter on the podcast, who is an attorney and travel agency owner, at the end of this month. This is not part of our conversation, but I think I might bring it up. Because we're not, this is not even like remotely close to what we were going to be talking about. We were going to be talking about like ICs and teams. But this is also something that I think like you as a travel advisor need to have protected like for your own intellectual and copywritten material. Because if you have created an itinerary and busted your booty and somebody just takes that and plans it on their own because they spit it through AI, that's big time copyright infringement in my opinion. Now, am I again, a legal attorney? I'm not a legal attorney and I do not know specific copyright law when it comes to this, but logically thinking about this, that I don't think that that's right, that somebody takes an itinerary that you created, put it into AI and then just does whatever they want with it. Which then makes me think that, I want to create GPTs to help you in your business. Maybe this is also something that you do as a travel advisor, especially when I'm thinking about like groups. Maybe there's like a group GPT that you build for your clients that has all the answers to any questions or any like pointers. Like maybe you have packing lists and like maybe you can give them the PDFs, but maybe you've also added the PDF as a knowledge doc to a GPT. And so if they're like, should I pack mittens for this trip? It can tell them yes or no based on what your packing suggestions were. So like, really diving in deep here, because I feel like there's so many like different use cases on just this first thing that Paige had mentioned, which is to stop feeding other people's work into AI. And this means like not only just like copy things, like stop feeding any images, stop feeding any videos, like anything that you have not created yourself, to stop uploading it to AI. The second point that she kind of makes, so I think there were like, maybe there were 5, but I only wrote 4. So the second point that she makes is that you don't owe you don't own what AI creates for you. And this specifically what I think about, and I believe kind of what she mentioned, is like any content. So if AI created your website, you don't own your website. If AI like created an entire blog post for you, that like you don't have the copyrights to that blog post because AI wrote it for you. Now, what's been frustrating me a lot recently with AI is that like I will have like different thoughts and ideas, and then like with my thoughts and ideas, AI will create frameworks and be like, hey, remember this is your marketing framework. And I'm like, no, AI, you created that marketing framework. Like I would never like put out a framework that you created. Like I'm very protective of that. Like, oh, that drives me so nuts. And every time it brings up like, hey, remember this framework? And I'm like, no, you created it. I didn't do it. So having to like be very careful. Now, the fine line where I see here is like, you know, specifically for me, I use AI to repurpose a lot of my content. So it is not necessarily creating a blog post from scratch. It's using the content that I've already created to create something else so that I can save my time doing that. That's where I kind of have some additional questions. Like, can I still count that as my own, or is that still AI? Because AI wrote it, but it's with like my original content, and I also edited to make sure like everything was accurate and tweaked where I needed it to be. So I'm curious about that. Kind of answering that type of question, I feel like would go way too much into what like a 3-minute reel is gonna be. So I'm curious about that. But I would say, like, if you are telling AI, like, hey, create a blog post about African safaris for me, and, like, you don't put any information of your own inside of that, that is where I would say that is definitely AI's work and not your work, because you just told it to do something. The third thing she wrote, I guess a lot of people are trying to write contracts with AI. So she was pretty much saying to be very mindful of any contracts that you get, and like to read through contracts with a fine-tooth comb. Words. And also not to create or use contracts that were built by AI. So there are so many resources out there nowadays that can help you with contracts. I obviously will always recommend my friend Tom Carpenter, who is an attorney. He drafted my own agency terms, and then anything else that I kind of need, like any other terms that I need for like exterior marketing, I've also worked with his team on those types of agreements and things. So I highly recommend working with an attorney to draft that so it's custom and personal. If it does get a little expensive, so if that is not within your budget, using somebody like the Legal Paige does have a travel advisor agreement, coincidentally. So I can go ahead, I'll link, I do have an affiliate link with them, but things from the Legal Paige are always top notch. So it's not like I'm just high and dry and like recommending something that I wouldn't also use, because I have also a couple of the contracts from Legal Paige. But making sure that any contracts you come across, you're probably going to need to double down on those contracts, especially if a lot of people are trying to use AI. And please do not AI your contracts. There's just too many resources out there, and at many varying different price points, that make this a no-brainer to be able to hire somebody or get that out there. The last point, which I think is super important for me to tell you or to regurgitate to you, is that Paige mentioned to never paste confidential information inside of AI. And this, I think, goes hand in hand with those itineraries, because sometimes like client information, their names, their contact info, like their phone number or their address can be on that documentation. And so if you have gotten permission to upload this documentation to AI, to make sure you are blackening out or you're removing any client information so that their personal and private information isn't out on the interwebs and on AI for AI to share, like whoever is not using AI for the right reasons. So being very, very mindful of that. So those are kind of like the 4 points that I just wanted to share. And hopefully I've given you a couple of ideas. I feel like I've given myself a couple of ideas, but I would love to like open up this conversation. We're definitely going to be talking about it in the Strategic Travel Entrepreneurs Facebook group. So if you haven't already joined, join. If you have tried joining and you have been declined, I can 99% guess that you probably did not agree to the group rules. So feel free to rejoin the Facebook group. Just make sure that you agree to the group rules, because that is why I decline. And I try and send a message, like a decline message saying like, hey, agree to the group rules. But I don't know if Facebook always sends that out. So if you haven't gotten that, that's why. But if you're kind of like waiting in limbo, or you haven't been approved or you've been declined, try again. Just make sure to agree to the group rules. I'm just like curious, like how you are also utilizing AI, because there are certain things that I want to use AI more for. And there's also like certain tools, like this past month. I was going to say not the entire summer. The entire summer has been very revelatory to me. Like I feel like you're gonna get a whole different like Rita almost, like an up level version, because a whole world of possibilities has been open to me now that I see all the different ways that you can use AI, between like just the first use I think that we all do is like we just use it as a chat bot. We just talk to it. But then the next version, or like the next level of using AI, is to be creating projects so that you have like targeted chats, and like all of your chats have like similar information, so you're not having to like re-spit out the same information every time. Then from there, it's to be able to use and create GPTs and skills, depending on if you're on ChatGPT or if you're using Claude. And then from there, it's being able to use things like Claude Cowork that can automate some of the tasks that you need to have done. So while like, yes, there's certain like legalities when it comes to AI, there's just so many possibilities that are out there. And I will say we are going to have like a more in-depth like possibilities, ideas, sharing of things in an upcoming episode, because I have Kate from Travel Pro Theory scheduled. So while this episode is a much typically shorter episode than what my normal episodes are, I have guest episodes coming every week, as long as, knock on wood, as long as all goes well. You'll hear a special guest the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to do like a Prep for Wave Week rewind all throughout September to get us all warmed up for Prep for Wave Week. Rewind is like I like to replay some of the sessions from the previous year's Prep for Wave Week. And like, this is it, like really great lineup. Just if you are new to the podcast, make sure that you're subscribed. If you're already subscribed, you are in for really great episodes that are coming up. And I just can't wait. Let me know if you have any questions or any thoughts, ideas about some of these legalities when it comes to AI. Again, I am not a lawyer or attorney. I will never pretend to be one. I've always thought like maybe that's like in another life, maybe that's what I would be, like a contract lawyer. But maybe we can like brainstorm and also like figure out ways like how we can responsibly use AI, and then also create AI tools that we can use for our own businesses, and that even some of your clients might be able to use for your business. So you have a fantastic week. Check out the links in the description, and I will see you back next week. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.